Hey, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom. This is Naaman with the DC Camp Branch of Great Millstone, back for another video. But first and foremost, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai. Double honors, once again, go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations also go out to the fellow Akim that are out there on the highways and the byways. Alright, not to mention the numerous amount of videos they post on a daily. Alright, getting the truth out. And it has worked. But there's still work yet to be done. Alright, gotta continue to do so until the remaining, hopefully elect, are awakened. Alright, so here we have another one. This is Professor Black Truth's site. And we almost had another Ahmaud Arbery incident that happened down in Georgia a few years back happen again. And in this case, well, they had passed a law. This is in South Kakalaki, all right, South Carolina. Just a matter of days or weeks prior to this incident happening. And this is rare because usually, as they're going to mention here, usually in cases like this where they have an anti-hate ordinance passed, it benefits everybody but us. All right. But enough of me babbling on. Let's go ahead and roll the video.
Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the moment of truth. And now the Friday Crime Report. Richland County, South Carolina, July 17th, 2025, 6 o'clock a.m. Early on the morning of July 17th, a black resident of the Spring Valley subdivision was going for his morning jog. People who live in Spring Valley describe it as a quiet, mixed community. But a white supremacist who lives in your area will always shatter the peace. Security video captured the incident when a white man in a black BMW drove to the gate of the neighborhood, pulled a rifle from the passenger seat, and opened fire on a black resident for no reason at all. The gunman is heard on the video yelling, "Keep running, boy." The gunman was no more stealthy than he was subtle, so investigators were able to identify him, and because he's white, they took him in alive. The gunman was identified as 33-year-old Jonathan Felkel. He confessed that he had first spotted his victim at 4 o'clock a.m., 2 hours before the attack, and as he himself admitted, he was by himself, so I was really going to do something at first and then. When asked to clarify the statement, Felkel said, "I was going to shoot at him. I was going to shoot at him." The sheriff's department also said he referenced his intent to instill fear in the victim due to his race. This detail, combined with others, led to a charge of hate intimidation under the Richland County Hate Crime Ordinance. He was also charged with assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature and possession of a weapon during a violent crime. And here people thought that white racists shooting at black joggers was just something limited to the Ahmaud Arbery incident, and at this time it didn't happen anywhere else. But as black people know, this happens all the time. It's just that, like with the video of the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, this race attack happened to also be caught on video too. The judge in this case set $1 million cash bond for the assault charge and a $1,075 cash bond, the maximum allowed for the hate crime ordinance violation. If Felkel makes bond, he'll be under house arrest.
Damn, he looks like the toxic waste man from the original RoboCop. Towards the end where he gets knocked into that tank of toxic waste. That same actor will go on to star in, was it ER, as the doctor that everybody hated. But anyway, I just thought about that.
Now, let's give credit where it's due. It was the black people of Richland County who had to fight to get this hate crime ordinance on the books in their county.
Richland County is the first county in our state to pass a hate crime ordinance. Richland County Councilwoman Tyra Little, right here on your screen, spearheaded the county's ordinance. Listen to her sit down and share an initial reaction to watching this Spring Valley surveillance video and a message to runners.
Justice should not be predicated upon where you live. And so for our citizens of Richland County, we want you to know that we are concerned. There's some trauma that comes with watching it. And so there will be some concerns. And so We don't want people to panic. We want you to continue to, to go out and get your exercise, but we also have to be vigilant as well.
Now, the real question is, did the white neighbors out there in Richland County understand that there was a problem?
We're a mixed community. I've been living here for 40 years, and I've never heard of an incident like this, ever.
I would love to believe that the neighbors and the people in my neighborhood, that something like that would never happen. But obviously it's kind of...
What amazes me, Salakia, what amazes me is this people, you have some people that are steadily, I mean amongst our own people, that will, believe this shit. These interviews of these people like this right here. Well, it's a peaceful community, and the other guy, the first guy, talking about, well, I've been here for 40 years, and, well, it never happened to you. Is that what you're really saying? But who's asking if it happened to you? Of course not.
Just a really close to home reminder that this can happen anywhere. And of the importance of the hate crime ordinance that's going on, and any other measures that we can take to make sure something like this doesn't happen again.
So, in a development that will surprise absolutely no one, the white neighbors out there, even they knew that there was a problem. Maybe they hadn't had such a blatant and inarguable act of anti-black violence like this, but they know their neighbors too, and they already knew that there was a problem. But I wonder, how many of them supported the hate crime ordinance when it was being proposed? And how many of them instead said, well, we live in a mixed area, and there's never been any problem like this here, so we don't need a hate crime ordinance. That kind of thing will only divide people. How many of them talk like that? What made this creep think that he could even do something like this? The society he lives in. That's who. The racists and online sewers like 4chan and Reddit always push their lies and memes claiming that black people commit all the crimes in America and areas are safe until the Negroes move in. And yet, time and again, especially in these smaller enclaves as I've documented for you, whenever you have these quiet, so-called safe places that get shattered by violence, someone pulls some violent first out in those areas, it's always one of these white supremacists who does it. It's not Pookie or Ray Ray doing some drive-by shooting out in some suburb of the sticks. As the white guy said, he's been there 40 years in a mixed community and nothing like this has happened before. But as we know, what he really meant was nothing like this had ever happened to him. That's who he was really talking about. But this is how it almost always is. These white supremacists take full advantage of their racial privilege, and then we have people in the society who protect them and try to run interference for them, like the judge in this case. Now, I'm going to give my thoughts on this judge trying to help put this scumbag back on the streets in a moment, but first, I think it's great that you have black people in South Carolina.
See, this gives more weight to, as it says in the scriptures about our people needing our own so we can dwell safely, and that goes all the way back to Deuteronomy. And, we're still, let's get that real quick. Which again lets you know that them people there ain't the real people. This is Deuteronomy 33. Alright. And 27. It says, the eternal God is thy refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms. And he shall thrust out the enemy from before thee, and shall say, destroy them. Israel then shall dwell in safety alone. See, them rats over there trying to twist scriptures like this, all right, and using Samuel to say that those people over there are Edom. I'm talking about the Palestinians. No, those are Ishmael. All right, they've twisted things so much these idiot Christians don't understand. All right, and I'm not going to even go into that. That's a whole different video. But let's continue on verse 28. Israel then shall dwell in safety alone. Are they over there? No. The fountain of Jacob, not of Esau, shall be upon a land of corn and wine. They have a kibbutz over there. They have to import shit. All right, because that land is cursed. All right, and they also are, almost 70% of them are allergic to, What kind of pollen? Oh my goodness, olive tree. What better way to say that you're not of the land than saying you're not of the land than that? All right, that you do not belong. Think about that. Also, let me read again. Israel then shall dwell in safety alone. The fountain of Jacob shall be upon a land of corn and wine. Also, his heavens shall drop down dew. Happy art thou, O Israel, who is like unto thee? O people saved by the Most High Yahweh, the shield of thy help, and who is the sword of thy excellency. And thine enemies shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places. You notice every time we have tried to distance ourselves from scum like these so-called white people, these Edomites, they can't stand it. They sabotage us any way they can. Think of places like Tulsa, all the settlements that they turn into lakes. We can go on and on. And you have to wonder, well, if you don't want to live around us and we want to get away from you, why are you constantly sabotaging our efforts to be self-sufficient, to be alone? Aside from them being demons in the flesh, incarnate. All right, there's jealousy and envy to the nth degree. All right, this is why these people have to be done away with. There are no redeemable qualities in these Edomites, these so-called white people. That's why they are going to be eradicated from the earth. They have to be. All right.
Carolina, who made this the law in their county. This is the kind of proactive stance black people need to be taking everywhere. It's also good that this law, passed only a little over a month ago, is already being put to good use, and it's being used against a white man accused of trying to kill a black person. This matters because when laws are passed, they're usually done in response to specific incidents. So people understand when these laws are passed, they're meant to actually apply specifically to people and specific folks in general. So for the very first person prosecuted under this law to be a white supremacist who attacked a black man, that sets the proper precedent. All too often, black people fight to get laws on the books, and then these laws are used for the benefit of everyone except us.
There you go.
What happened here, the entire justification for it wasn't because of homophobia or so-called Islamophobia or trans whatever. This is about what it's supposed to be about, anti-black violence, which is the only racism on the planet, by the way. There is no other. We'll continue with the moment of truth in just a moment, but first, a word from the official sponsor of Black Empowerment, Power Tools. There's no telling when something's going to come up, so make sure you carry your power tools at all times. You never know when you're going to need to bring the hammer down, or when you'll have some trash that needs to be blown away, or some obstacle that requires cutting down. Don't get caught empty-handed. Keep your hammer close by. Keep that leaf blower at the ready. And always carry your steel. Power Tools. Because no matter what your day job or side hustle may be, there's no excuse for not being ready to put in some work. There's about 2 states in the entire country that don't have a statewide hate crime law. South Carolina is one of them. And after this crime, there's now renewed calls for South Carolina to pass a statewide law just like the one in Richland County. Now, why did the black people of Richland County have to be the ones to establish a first in the state hate crime law like this? Why didn't the white politicians there do it? Because, as these white supremacists themselves say, hate crimes laws are meant to criminalize being white. That's what these white supremacists said. That punishing racists for committing acts of violence is meant to be something that outlaws being white. They themselves have said that.
Wait a minute. Did you hear what he just said? They just told you why they gave everybody else hate crime bills except for Jake. Because they know it's in their nature. And they're going to turn a lot of them to... I mean, how much more do you have to hear? All right, to understand that this place isn't for us. Hebrews 11th chapter. All right, verse 14 and 15. What we've gone through all these centuries up until now, how how precious. All right, let me get it. Now do we know how our land was to us? We know now because why? What we're going through. It says Hebrews 11:14, for they that say such things, and this is actually the chapter that's dedicated to those that were faithful. All right, this is the faith chapter. All right. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country, and truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, that being Israel, they might have had opportunity to have returned. All right. But now they desire a better country that is in heavenly. Wherefore the Most High is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared for them a city. All right. And that's what we're looking for, not this tarnished, these shitholes that the people that are ruling over us, they refer to as, this is their heaven. You have to understand that. This is their rulership. All right. So they've been so used to getting away with shit like this, especially when it comes to us. All right. This is what they're trying to preserve. So what they told you in that little what they said there, what he repeated about them making themselves criminals, well, they are. Again, like I said, they just told you what this is all about. They know. But this is how we're being punished. The curses, remember? All right. Jake really and truly believes that they can get an education and they can educate themselves out of this when they just told you don't matter. And why would you want to stay in a shithole like this where the people that run it are telling you, we don't give a fuck about your rights, we don't give a fuck about you. All right. And it's never going to be fair, if you want to use that word. There's never going to be any justice for you. All right. Wow. I mean, just wow.
That being white means committing violent crimes. So black people, as usual, are the only ones fighting for justice, the only ones trying to make everyone equal under the law.
Yeah,
and yet, just like every other policy we've put on the books, none of these other groups had a thing to do with it. And yet, as usual, whenever they see us getting things done, they suddenly come out of the woodwork and want to come out of nowhere and try to make it all about them. For example, CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations, on their website wrote of this incident, quote, "We welcome this first charge under the new hate crime law ordinance and hope the use of that groundbreaking ordinance helps deter those who might consider targeting members of minority communities." Yeah, you knew that word was coming.
Yep.
First of all, CAIR didn't have the decency to even mention the word black, though predictably they did make sure to mention minorities.
Mm-hmm.
As Claude Anderson said, they shoehorned that in there as a way to take attention away from where it needs to be.
There you go.
And it's perverse as hell for CAIR to be welcoming this. All the Muslim and Arab politicians in America, and not one of them pushed for a hate crime ordinance where they are. None of them have said a word or lifted a finger to enact hate crimes legislation at any level. And if they did, they would be bending over backwards to make sure that it applied only to either Arab Americans or, at the very most, only to Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, they'd be very selective about who gets prosecuted and for what.
Yep.
If they thought that this was such a great idea, why didn't they do it? All the Arabs and Muslims you have in Michigan, and they haven't organized themselves? Because they see themselves as honorary members of the oppressor class. That's why. The only reason that you see them chattering about this issue right now is because Israelis are running hog wild in the Middle East. But it's because everybody already knows that Arabs and Muslims in the United States are trying to be part of the dominant society, that they don't have any sort of political momentum for a law like that. So CAIR needs to butt out. They had nothing to do with any of this. They want...
See how they use Jake? Mm-hmm. And we were just in our Wednesday evening going over the trans-Saharan slave trade with them motherfuckers. Ishmael. Mm-hmm. See, Jake, damn.
To be bystanders, so they need to go back to the sidelines and sit down. Let them celebrate the hate crimes laws that they got passed. Now, this Richland County hate crime ordinance is the very first in the state, but understand that there's lots of racist people who hate this. And I think the judge in this case, he wasn't giving it the old college try. $1 million bond? This is somebody who tried to commit an act of murder, especially when it's done on the basis of race and nothing else. There should be no bond because this animal is a threat to the community. But the judge looking and going, well, a threat to the black community. And next we'll have the white media and the judge and others trying to say that this guy is crazy or that perhaps he has multiple personality disorder or something, which is what they always do whenever some white racist is caught trying to harm a black person. You can take out your watch and count the seconds before they start screaming, he needs to have a mental evaluation. He clearly must be crazy. We got to get him some sort of psychiatrist to look at him and see what kind of mental disorder he has. That train is never late, and this is a defense that only applies to white offenders, particularly if they've tried to harm a black person. A black person, on the other hand, can be crazy as hell. They can be howling at the moon in court. They can prove that they have 5 different personalities, and as Paul Mooney said, the judge will still tell them, well, pick which one you want to be today because somebody's going to jail. They don't let black people get away with BS. So congratulations to Richland County for making a first strike against these racist punks in their midst. And this is why a hate crime law specifically for black Americans is a must at the federal level. It's not just racists in the red states that are the problems, though. They're not the only ones opposing this kind of legislation. Every time Democrats have control of the U.S. Congress, they give us lies and lectures about all the stuff they can't do. Meanwhile, they're making sure that Asian Americans have hate crimes laws specifically for them. So the same way we understand the Republicans to be the enemy, we recognize Democrats to be no different. In the meanwhile, be realistic about who your neighbors are. A so-called mixed community, and this violent racist punk was living there and not on anyone's radar until he did this. Black people have a right to self-defense. Doesn't matter if there's a hate crime law or ordinance where you live or not. This punk pulled a racist murder ambush on a black person just because. So when these white supremacists think that these bigoted ambushes are some sort of freebie that they get to have at no penalty, we need to make sure that we're in a position to show them that we're ready to take our best shot. And that's this week's Friday Crime Report.
So there you go. Damn, it's like, will Jake ever learn? I mean, they go out of their way, and he's right about that mental illness part. It never fails. Wow. We got to get out of here, and that's why we keep making these videos, to try to spread the word. Hey, for these Christians, these, I call them slaves, because that's what they are. They're still slaves for the most part. All right, you got to stay away from them. And again, just as the apostle said, when they come up and they ask them questions, drag them into the deep waters with the scriptures, we got to get the hell up out of here. But that last part where he was talking about, and as I say at the end of all my videos, remain circumspect. All right, be very mindful of your surroundings. Don't be getting caught up in bullshit and then get caught up in, some shit, cost you your life. Because these people out here aren't playing these days. All right. Especially them folks. All right. So with that, until the next video, hey, shalom.